Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of What's Happening Now with C&I Solutions. As always, remember to like, share, and comment on this broadcast, as there could be information here not only useful to yourself or perhaps useful to someone else who can use this information. So tonight's broadcast is being brought to you by Hello Guest Screen, where a Hello Guest Screen is an easy way to promotionalize or promote your business. If you happen to have an Airbnb or business, it'll be an awesome way to get it there. You put it on your property's TV, and you can go ahead and stream all of their information, all of your information for the hometown on that particular item. So again, if you want to get into this, if you want to get an Airbnb, if you went into a business or you have an office space, Hello Guest Screen would be an awesome thing for you to have. Some of the things we got coming up, Miss Brittany, we do start in our entrepreneurial course. That's going to be starting tomorrow.
Absolutely. I'm excited.
For those who are signed up, I know we got Oakwood University. We got some students from there coming in. We got Huntsville Housing residents coming in. We got some community people coming in for this event tomorrow. So it's going to be an awesome class, and we're excited about it. The 2024 is going to be the first class for 2024, and we're really going to do some great things. Coming up, we're doing our community baby shower. We can get the producer put that up there. We call this the 7 and 7 community baby shower. That's going to be happening in May. We are looking for donations and support. Anybody who wants to be a sponsor for this, please reach out to reach out to us. We're looking for those babies, mothers to be who are going to be 7 months pregnant or 7 months postpartum. But we're going to be trying to help them with necessary baby needs and things like that.
That is great, because I actually know a few people that need help.
Outstanding. So, ladies, gentlemen, tonight in the studio, we have a special guest. I'm excited about her. She's like a firecracker to me. She's outstanding, and she's ready to go. We have the CEO of Disability Solution Services, Miss Renee Scruggs. Miss Renee, welcome.
Thank you. It's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Not a problem.
Outstanding. So talk to us a little bit about Disability Solution Services.
Disability Solution Services is actually a company that I created as a self-advocate.
Okay.
At 18, had just finished college, came to Huntsville, Alabama to go to college at Oakwood, now University. I'm from Michigan, so those of you who are used to snow already know what I'm about to talk about. Went home for the weekend for Christmas break, which at that time you would go for Thanksgiving and you would come back after the new year. Got home, had been home 2 weeks. The week after Thanksgiving, I was visiting some friends up in an academy where I went to graduated from, and had a horrible snow, which is not anything new to people who live in Michigan. But unfortunately, that one weekend, ran into an incident where I ended up being crushed between 2 cars by the legs. And from that was determined, I got to get back to school. If I ever needed to make it through college, I need to finish now. So I came back that following fall and finished college, went on, started working a job here and there. And right about in my maybe early 40s, I started to realize, because of course, with my legs being degenerative, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this my whole life. Work is 365. So I need to come up with something. And also being an African American, and I have been raised around and brought up by people who always had a side hustle. And good side hustles, making good money or just straight own their own businesses. So I was used to kind of always helping, either detailing cars or putting parts on them or spraying them or, building things. And I decided, as a person with a disability, I needed to build a bridge for those coming behind me.
Right.
Because if nothing ever happens to you in life and God just blesses you enough to live, one morning you're going to wake up and say, that leg was working a little better yesterday. I don't know what is going on today. But everyone at some point has a challenge.
Right.
All of them may not be what we call what we consider targeted challenges, but everybody's got something. And as we just get older, you start to develop things. So I decided to be a one-woman band because I had to be a one-woman band. Like it or not, I had a disability.
Right.
So I figured if I do it for me, it'll benefit those coming behind me.
Right.
So that's what birthed Disability Solution Services.
So you said something there that is very interesting, because way too often when general public think about those with disabilities, we think that they can't do anything. They got a disability, they can't work, they can't do this. But there are more often than not a lot of active working personnel out there with disabilities, whether it be missing a leg, missing both legs, in a wheelchair, and they're able to act and perform just as well as those who's got all four limbs.
Correct.
So how do you encourage, or I shouldn't say encourage, how do you dispel that negative mindset when people like the Charles Fries were thinking, Renee's missing a leg, she can't do nothing, she can't work for us? How do you dispel that type of negative mindset?
And that's a lot of what Disability Solution Services. Let me explain what Disability Solution Services does. It is basically an educational, even though we provide services.
Okay.
2/3 of what I do is educating people. So what we actually do is we work with employee groups to teach management how to work with people with disabilities, and also to explain to them disabilities is not a small box catchword. You've got people who have what we call invisible disabilities. You may have severe asthma. You may have degenerative eye conditions. There are all kinds of things that contribute as sometimes obesity.
Right.
Can be considered a disability depending on how bad it is and how it's affecting you physically.
Sure. I need to go make my claim then, shoot, man. I need to get my claim in.
You actually took the words right out of my mouth, because I was actually going to ask the next question, because there's a lot of stigma behind the fact that when most people see a disabled person, they automatically assume a person of your caliber, somebody in a wheelchair, and not someone like me who has one of those invisible disabilities that still not everybody sees day to day, but they still don't realize how bad it is to have something that is a lifelong condition that affects your living.
Correct. And we've got to get past that, because like I get fussed at, and people, I don't consider myself a phenomenon in any way. I just am a person trying to survive like everybody else. So for instance, lots of times I'm in Walmart, and let's put it this way, even if I had my two good legs, I'm only 4'10" now. That within itself is a disability. So I look at it as a blessing and a curse that I'm on crutches,
Right?
Because my crutches become my extended arm. So people who are used to seeing me in Walmart, there's nothing for me like, can't get it off the top shelf. I'll just reach the crutch. And I've done it for 40 years. So I know how far to pull it. I know where to put my hand. And it's just like football, just drop. People are running. Can I get that? They're running into things that will make them disabled, trying to help me. I'm like, no, I got it. So couple of times, but one man most specifically, he said, I've been in this store a couple of times and I watch you. He said, and it's not that I don't want to help you. He said, but I just watch you. He said, you kind of got a rhythm here. I said, well, yeah, for the year. He said, you come and you do this. I'm so impressed. So then I kind of joked with him. I was like, what, you don't have to come and buy eggs and milk? I'm like, I have to come get groceries. He said, you know what I mean? But we need to dispel things, because a couple of things. Everybody at any given moment in the day can develop a disability.
Absolutely.
Simple things. You go to a concert, and these are some of the exercises that I do with the work groups. And I do what I call is a TAB exercise. TAB stands for temporarily abled bodied person. So I'm flipping it around. I'm making you temporarily able-bodied, because if you're blessed to keep living, you're going to eventually become me and have the same needs. So what I do is I give them exercises and their scenarios. One of the scenarios, simple things that happen to us every day. You went to this concert, that you've been trying to go to your whole life. Now you're at a point where you can spend $150 for the ticket. And you're like, I am not going to miss this group. I have prime seats. The seats are 6 aisles from the speaker. So when you come out, I know I've come out from concerts and been like, you know, and for a minute, your ears are kind of, and then after a while, you can hear them pop. Well, what if your ears don't pop? And what if you ruptured something or damaged something in your ear? Simple thing, going to a concert. I just finished moving. If you're moving boxes and you're not paying attention, you step off a curb wrong, you'll snap your ankle or wrench your knee or something like that. You're on crutches for about 2 months. Now you're temporarily disabled. Well, here's the thing. If you work with me helping you, then when you wrench your knee, there's a ramp where you need to come to work, because I've already gotten somebody to do that because we become aware. We just need to become proactive. And I don't know what it is about disabilities. And I'm in a fascinating place because I'm African American. So I'm already in a situation where I'm like, we just really don't get it in this country. We've come this far and we're still stuck on simple, stupid things.
Right.
So you combine that with the disabilities. And I tell people, I said, when I became disabled, that was nothing because I was already Black. So I already understood, you're going to have to educate some people. And some people just aren't going to ever get it. And you're just going to have to be okay with that. But I choose to continue doing what I'm doing because I know there are people coming behind me. There are those my age already. A lot of us are boomers. You know, we have this large population who's aging out. Well, somebody needs to take care of them now. We should have been doing it. And one thing, in my opinion, about our country, we're not proactive. We are reactive. So we wait until something major happens. So if I'm somewhere working for someone or involved in an organization and I'm preaching, we need to do something about disabilities every single time. If the president's wife falls, if the owner gets, and why isn't there a ramp here? So I always say to people, okay, 10 minutes before you got hurt, was it important? Well, no. I said, well, that's why there's not a ramp here. So that's kind of how all of that works together.
So we got one of the questions out here. It says, what involved with your service? What all do you offer in fees? What are their fees?
Fees are individual, depending on what you need. The majority of what I do right now is try and work with work groups to help them with their staffing, because one of my objectives is to get, and supposedly our country is trying to get more people with disabilities to work in the workforce. That's kind of tricky because we keep saying we want people in, but when they go to interview or when they're going looking for jobs, unless they are physicists and literally rocket scientists, you know, that's a challenge. Somebody like me, I'm kind of like a chameleon. People don't really know how to take me. So when I start talking, I can almost see it on their face like, oh, wow. And she sounds really educated. Yeah, just lost the leg. I can still read and speak. You know, people associate that. So my services, I work with work groups. Since I'm in a government town, usually those work groups are either government agencies or contractors, but anyone, organizations, churches. And I help them with the exercises that we do. Then the other things that I do is I help disabled entrepreneurs, especially who are trying to build businesses, because some of us who have disabilities can't come out.
Right.
Some of us who, when we do come out, our time and energy is limited. But if you're working something of your own, and if COVID gave us anything, it was remote work.
Oh, yeah.
Which works so well for a lot of people with disabilities. So a lot of people with disabilities were able now to work remotely. And that's starting to change the percentage of unemployment. But unemployment in the disabled community is very high. And we've got to get that down because it's a ripple effect. And you mentioned before, well, you know, this person is disabled and they can't do. Well, here's the thing. How much are you willing to bet out of your paycheck that that's true? Because you're paying for those people who you're saying can't do anything. And I mean, I could sit home and do absolutely nothing and get paid.
Right.
out of your paycheck. So every day you go to work, I'm like, good job.
Right.
But the thing is, if we all use the perspective of people are people and let them do the best at whatever they can do, we put more people to work, less money comes out of your check, and then more money goes into the general budget because every dollar of work I'm doing, even part-time on a disability benefit, is taxable. So that money goes back into the general budget.
So got a statement up here. It says, it's amazing to see so many people out there helping others make it through tough times. Please continue to be great and make the world a better place, even if piece by piece it's making a difference. That's outstanding. So with that being said, now folks, you got to understand Charles Fry's different. I'm a different breed. I'm one of those ones, just like you said, you be in Walmart and you got to get the stuff on the top shelf. I'm gonna walk right past you and let you get that from the top shelf, and then I will have people say, Charles, how heartless are you? Why are you so heartless like that? She's got it. She don't need me. Like this. If she would have wanted help, she would have said, hey, sir, could you help me grab this? Right. But they don't do that. So am I wrong to not help those who are disabled when they're doing certain things, even the ones in the wheelchair who are going through a door? Should I say, oh, let me grab that door for you? Do they want me to grab that door for them, or do they want to do that themselves?
That's a loaded question because there's 1,000 different personalities. Mm-hmm. I'll give you an example. Parents with children who are naturally curious. Mm-hmm. I've had kids run up to me and say, what happened to your leg? Right. That's just a standard question, like people calling my name. I have had parents grab children and shake them to the point where it scared me. And I said to the parent, just let them ask me. Right. Because I'd rather them ask me and me tell them than them to be afraid of people with disabilities. That creates a certain kind of stigma. Mm-hmm. And then as you get older, it's like hands off. So to answer your question, I know Charles Fry. And I believe Charles Fry would do this. And this is my suggestion to everyone. Mm-hmm. Charles Fry will walk by, and if you saw me struggling, I believe you would say, do you need some help? Mm-hmm. And if I told you no, then you would move on. Mm-hmm. I don't think you would just ignore me altogether. But if you see me grabbing and you see the hand come up like, she got it, we good to go. Right. I think
she might actually grab me one. Hey, could you give me one too?
People like, I can't reach it. I said, how many you need? Just one. I'll pull it down. So that goes back to me saying, let everybody do the best that they can do. Mm-hmm. And some people will ask for help and some people won't ask for help, and you'll just know that they do need help. Right. And you can make a decision in that moment.
Is there another producer? We got another question up there. Is that from the same one?
That's the same one.
All right, you take that one down. So here's a pet peeve of mine. And I know I'm gonna catch it for this one. I'm gonna catch it for this one. This is a pet peeve of mine. And coming from you, you tell me how I should stand on this. I cannot stand when I go to Walmart or any other grocery store and the handicap spot is filled and someone gets out and just
before you answer that question,
that burns me. I'm expecting to see, a Miss Scruggs coming out with a cane and some crutches walking, or somebody in a wheelchair, not somebody pimpling. Hey, what's up, young blood? What? Why you parked there, man? You could have parked down at the end with me and we could have walked up together. Am I wrong for thinking that way? I mean, tell me.
Absolutely. And I say that personally because I'm one of those ones with the invisible disability. Right. You don't know that I have MS when you see me. Mm-hmm. So you may see me get out the car with the handicap sticker that day and I jump out and I got a little pep in my step, but I'm going to go when I have the pep in my step, because with this disease that I have, sometimes I'm not able to give you that pep in the step. Right. Sometimes you may pull up and see Brittany jump out with that Cadillac converter that you helped me out with, or the cane. Like, it's just one of those situations where personally I have somebody say, you don't look like you got a disability, and I say, you don't look like you're stupid. Well, I'm not stupid, but I do have a disability. Right. So because you can't see a physical disability, mm-hmm. doesn't mean a disability doesn't actually exist.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's exactly what I
can see that, but you gotta understand from my perspective, I be seeing people they be having that pimp walk going. I'm like, man, they walking better than I'm walking. You know, like this, how they got a handicap sticker?
Now,
you know?
Now some, like everything, there are many who will park in the spot. I have friends who have pulled up in the spot, and I'm like, now you know you're not handicapped. Well, they have their mother or their aunt's or grandmother sticker. Well, I got the sticker, I'm gonna put it here. And I'm sitting in the car with them, like, I don't care what you think. Let me give you a flip. We're all needing to be conscientious. What burns me is when there's someone handicapped, maybe they're two together, and one goes into Walmart and the other one just sits there in the parking spot. Move, because the person who needed the spot is inside the store. You can drive up. They can
not
call
think
you
about that.
Say,
Yeah.
That also people just sitting in cars. I see us come out of the store and go to the car. You got 3 handicap spots in 1,000 spot parking lot, and you get in the car and you sit in the car. You making a phone call. What you can make that phone call up the road, while all of us are driving around Walmart parking lot 20 minutes trying to find the spot. That's what burns me.
All right, we got another statement that says all disabilities are readily visible. Is there, i.e., there are no outward signs of heart issues. A person may not be able to walk far. Yeah, I hear what you're saying, viewer. I get that. I get that. But you gotta, if my viewers who know Charles Fry, y'all know how I am, and I get excited. You know, I just get excited like this. And for me, it's a visual thing. I want to see handicappedness, and I respect it. I will honor it. I will support it. I will even move those who aren't handicapped out of your way. Hey, she needs to be there, not you. You know what I mean? So I get it. And I get there's those who have, MS, who can't walk a lot of times, or you might have bad backs out there, those who got bad backs or heart issues. So I get that. So I guess y'all are trying to open my eyes and broaden my horizons a little bit.
To tap into what you said at the beginning of my MS stage, I could barely walk. So when I was pulling up to the handicap spot and somebody jumped out the car and they was walking better than me, I was like, dang, they got a pep in their step. I need that spot. So I understand where you're coming from in that sense, where it's two disabilities competing, but not when you're not disabled and you see somebody that may not seem like they have a disability to you.
So you mentioned something earlier. You said the unemployment rate for disabled person is at an extreme high right now. And that's something I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be honest with you. I've never thought about that. I've never thought about unemployment for disabled persons. I never really thought about that. And I don't think I've ever heard in any type of newscast on TV them talking about, hey, y'all know our unemployment rate for disabled is high right now. I've never heard that.
And because you don't hear it, that's why when people have me come and talk to their groups when I'm not doing a training, I start off with this. So how many people in the room are potentially disabled? And they'll look around. Those who get it will raise their hands. And then I'll say, do you drive? And then some hands will go up. I'll say, do you play any kind of sport that ends with a ball? And some hands will go up. I said, are you breathing? And then everybody gets it. So then I say to them, it is disabilities, I think we've been orientated wrong. Classic example. What's the symbol for disabilities? A wheelchair. Most of the people that I know who are disabled aren't in a wheelchair.
Right.
Okay.
Most of the people that I know who have disabilities and severe ones aren't in a wheelchair. I'm not in a wheelchair.
So does that offend you? Does that offend you that your symbol is a wheelchair and you're not in a wheelchair?
I don't know. I just figured they had to come up with something universal, and it's something visual that gives you a quick reference to what they're talking about. Because there's literally hundreds of disabilities you can't figure out, Right. That would be the most universal. And keep in mind, we're coming back from the 1800s, trying to be sensitive enough so that has come forward with us.
So let's see, let me get to this one. It says, I hear you, Charles. I'm disabled and you can't tell by looking at me. And you could be right, ma'am. And I apologize to all of those, my colleagues and friends and collaborators who are disabled, and I just don't know it. But let me ask y'all this. Do you get the label of being disabled if you're deaf?
Yes.
Do you get a handicap placard?
I don't know, honestly. That's a good question.
That is a good question. If it's considered a disability, I'm not gonna say quote me on it, but I believe you can have a handicap sticker. But most impaired hearing people that I know aren't driving.
Correct. And those who are, some states, the EMA system has a sticker, something you put on your car. Because another issue is people who are hearing impaired, if they're ever pulled over by the police or something, a lot of them, especially if you've got an iPhone, you're reaching for your device to be able to communicate. And when they reach, that creates an incident.
Right.
So I know here they were working on something where you either had a license tag or you had like a bumper tag. So when first responders pulled up to you, they knew that you were hearing impaired, and then they were trained how to work with you.
All right. So what and dealing with disabilities and working with these many different companies and organizations, what are some of the challenges that you have faced?
Well, I think my biggest challenge is being taken seriously. You know, I'm always the one, I used to always be the one, well, you know, especially here in Huntsville, because I'm usually working for a government contractor, well, you know, they hired you because it's a, you know,
quota
thing.
Yeah.
We can check a box. And what I so wanted to say to many of the people, no, I was hired because I know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I'm usually saving your tail because there's something, I'm usually admin support or managing people. So I'm usually either fixing what you broke or I'm trying to keep it from being broken as it goes through the system. But people have a tendency to feel like we're giving you, you haven't earned your position.
Right.
We're allowing you, you know, we're giving you a step up because, but that's not true.
So you know, folks, those who are just joining us, please take time to share this and send it to someone that you know who can use this information that Ms. Scruggs is talking about, especially if there's somebody who's disabled. I know all of us got a family member, nephew, niece, cousin, uncle, aunt who's got some type of disability. Let me ask this. Has affirmative action affected the disabled community?
Not to my knowledge. And I don't know that it helped it either. It just, you know, disabilities is its own little capsule of challenge. I'll put it that way. To my knowledge, affirmative action didn't really move the needle too much. The ADA laws did.
Okay.
ADA laws have created a lot of required things that have pushed some things into motion, especially if you are working for a government agency or contractor, because that's a requirement. It's a compliance issue.
Right.
So if you don't have so many things now, the flip side of that too, I don't want people just hiring people because they're disabled so you can make your quotas.
Right.
Hire qualified people, but they keep saying they can't find qualified people. And I'm fascinated because I'm talking to qualified people who can't find jobs. So there's a disconnect somewhere.
Right.
There's a Now I do know I'm a little more sensitive in Huntsville because we do tech and we do space. We do war and we do space. Those are our local products. We have more students coming out in STEM, but the last stats that I looked at, I think were a year ago. And most of our people who are coming out in business, which in Huntsville, that's great if you're going to start a business.
Right.
But business positions, once people get in them here, they lock in. So it's years, you know, you find like a HR or business here or there, but usually technology is running Huntsville. So we're still trying to push more of our students into STEM.
Okay. All right. We've got another question up there. It says on October 1st, on 1 October, the law in Texas changed for disabled military vets. Whereas before you could park in a handicapped parking spot if your car had a DV plate. Now, in addition to the plate, you must also have a handicap placard. Is that somewhat similar that's happening here in Alabama? Because I know I see a lot of military plates out there and it has DV for disabled vet,
Right.
and they were categorizing that as handicapped. But then let me ask you this: what is your thoughts on that? Is a disabled vet that has a DV plate considered to be handicapped? Because I think, and I don't wrong, and who's out there reviewing, I think some of the vets can get a DV for PTSD. Is that correct? Can you get a disabled vet for having PTSD?
And they should be able to. PTSD is serious.
Mm-hmm.
It really is serious. And people, personal opinion, we do a lot of throwaway things in our society.
Mm-hmm.
We ship people off to war. Everybody's singing the battle hymn. 6 months later, if you say anything about the war, people don't even remember or care.
Right.
So when these veterans, we teach them to be killing machines. They have to survive.
Right.
And to be successful at what the mission is. Well, you don't just come and get back in line after that. Your brain is somewhere else. You transition. Some people transition back in slower. So you've taught somebody to be a killing machine or a fighting machine. They have seen things that no human should see.
Right.
Some of them. And we're expecting them to just come back, transition in, and then we use terms like crazy and psycho and mental. PTSD is basically your brain having, in the workplace, is very important because there are certain triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And people with PTSD should be able to work just like everyone else. But you have to learn their triggers, just like you have to know my knee doesn't bend. So when you're setting up shop for me, a desk, it has to be a desk where my leg can go up under it without bending. Same thing for PTSD. People have to be understanding. You have to understand whatever employee you're employing, and especially the veterans, because they're the ones who have allowed us to be safe enough to be who we are as a country.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have the tendency to want to, as society. Now, the Army and the military services work with them, but we as a society have to learn another sensitivity. It's basically all the same, but in different categories. Now, I'm going to flip. I love the veterans, but I'm fighting a personal war here at home. And if it's veteran and non-veteran disabled, the non-veteran disabled does not exist in this town, because this is a military
town. Right. I could see that.
So we fight a little harder, but our battle is the same. We need the same resolve for both groups.
So with your organization, do you work with those who besides trying to get them into the workforce and having companies adjust to disableds in the workforce, do you work with those who are just now coming into their disability?
I do that individually, and I'm glad you asked that. That's a service that I actually want to start, but I would start that from a different entity.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do it underneath Disability Solution Services, because Disability Solution Services is self-explanatory. I'm helping you find solutions for your workplace.
Right.
Like, for instance, doing emergency management. Question I'll ask you, and you all probably may not. If a person with a disability in our icon wheelchair is working above the first floor and a fire breaks out, what do you do with them? Because the first thing that's going to happen is the elevator's going to lock down.
Absolutely.
Push them out the window, I guess. Depends how big they are. If they're your size, I'm a fire and carry you out. If they are size, going out that window, Brittany.
Mr. Post-military, I definitely need you to get your thing up.
I don't know.
The answer to that question is every building above the second that has above the first floor has a hallway, a staircase. I had to learn this for myself because I went looking for answers. I'm like, okay, and I'll give you a quick story. I went looking for answers because when I was in that accident that took my leg, they sent me to, I call it a nursing home, a rehab facility. First day of therapy, I get on this elevator trying to be on time for everything. get between floor 3 and 2, and the elevator locks up.
Oh.
And it's funny, but it's not funny. I can kind of have a dark humor. Everybody on the elevator were ortho patients.
Mm-hmm.
One of the patients had no limbs, no arms, no legs. They're being fitted for full prosthetics. So we've got this gurney with basically a trunk person. Then we've got all these people with these medical poles and IVs. All of us are jammed in this little elevator, and we're stuck between the 2nd and 3rd floor. And you hear a voice scream up, "We'll get you out. It's going to be about 45 minutes. So, I'm going, oh my goodness. And the nurse says, who was with one of the patients, she said, "You must be new." I said, "How did you know?" She said, "You're the only one getting excited." She said, "This happens every day." She said, "You just kind of try and get on and look up on the ones that don't." So my thinking was, okay, what if that happened in that situation? What do you do with elevators? So I went to the fire department, to the fire marshal, and he said the answer for that is those staircases are built fire safe for 2 hours. So if you have someone that's above the 1st floor, you push them out on the landing. And if it's a newer built building, and I know this is true, you ever been in these new buildings and there's a red phone right by the door? That goes to first responder, that goes to 911. When you pick it up, it automatically dials in. So the fire marshal said, you either push them out, and if there's a red phone, you pull that phone and tell the person on the other end, I am a person with a disability, or I have a person with a disability. They will stay on that phone with you. The ETA for the first responder, firemen's coming is 5 minutes, 8 minutes. You should hear somebody coming in the ground floor beneath you. You should hear them coming up the steps. They'll call out. And when they get to you, they will confirm and hang up that phone and then take you out.
Oh, wow.
If you do not have that phone, then you call in on your cell phone. One thing you do not want to do, throw the wheelchair out the window and carry the person down. That's liability.
Okay.
And I always tell people, unless it is absolutely life at risking, don't ever pick somebody up. I've had people carry me down steps in wheelchairs and topple me over, and I'm falling down like a flight of steps.
Oh, wow.
So you don't want that liability.
Got it. Got another statement here. Says, how far is an employer obligated to go to accommodate disabilities? At what point does it become unreasonable and unrealistic? Wow.
The word reasonable is the key. In the law, in the ADA law, it states an employer or whoever has to make reasonable accommodations. So in other words, if your building was built in 1920 or 1850, and you literally have to compromise the structure to put in an elevator, then no, that's not reasonable. Adding a ramp on the outside where you can find a decent place that's safe, or even putting a lift on the end of the building, but something that's reasonable. They aren't expecting you to destroy your business to accommodate a disability, but you work with the person as much as you can and kind of come. And I know here, the rehab here is very good. They have a tech team. If you are an employer and you're looking for help for accommodations, they will come out and they will assess your facility and the work area or the accessible area you need. And they will give you, they sometimes will actually help you establish some things, but they will definitely advise you.
So, and I think I was talking to Ms. Fry about this, and someone else told me, is there a new law out that says that for like stores and everything, that they have to have doors that automatically open like that to be accessible for those who are disabled in wheelchairs? Is it mandatory that they have to have that conversion done?
I am not sure. I read an article, but I'm not sure if it was saying it was mandatory or that it was like strongly suggested. Funny for me is, the doors, you hit the button and they open up. I get fussed at all the time because I never hit the button. I just pull the door, and people are one man went off, "Why aren't you using it? That's what we're paying. People pay for." I was like, but it never works. And while being smart, forgive me, Lord, while I was talking to him, I hit the button, the door didn't work. I said, "See, that's why I pulled it." And he said, "Oh, like that." And I understand it. It costs money,
right?
To get but the doors never work. I shouldn't say never work. A lot of them don't work. So if you're with me sometimes, my friends will be laughing because they'll push the button. I say, oh, I love this place. The door actually works.
Right.
Disney, I love Disney. You hit anything and it opens up. Sometimes you roll up on a piece of cement. They have a sensor in the ground, the door will open up. Sliding doors are extremely expensive.
Yes, I know.
And they tend to break down a lot. So I've noticed that even some of the places I've gone to that had sliding doors now have the door that you hit and it opens up this way. So I'm not quite sure of the technology for that.
Okay, got it.
And you get fussed at for not hitting the button, and I get fussed at for hitting
For
the button.
hitting it.
Right. So I got 1,000 questions I can go over, but I know our time is limited. But one question I do want to ask: what would be considered workplace discrimination for those who are disabled?
It's a hard question because it's hard to prove. Trying to think. Workplace discrimination. If you intentionally prepare something for the non-disabled and you don't find an accommodation for the person with the disability.
Okay. What about this? Can I discriminate against you to not hire you because you only have one leg? Because what can I say? Maybe the job does require you to walk and carry something, and because of that, I'm like, yeah, I can't hire you. Only got one leg.
And that's the hard question that I was talking about, because here are the takeaways from that. I walk all the time and carry like furniture and stuff on my own. But if I'm in the workplace, and when I'm doing that, anybody that sees me will be horrified because it looks like I'm about to break my neck. But I've done it 40 years. I know where to put my crutches in. Right. But in a workplace, there are different considerations. So if I do that in the workplace and fall, then the workplace is now liable for issues. And while I may not think that I need to be able to, that it's okay that I'm carrying, I may not be able to carry either. It's awkward, the pieces that I'm carrying. So it's kind of a liability issue, can be. Not that I'm excusing the employer. Right. They need to do everything that they can, have somebody else carry, but there are reasons why. Now, why I say that's tricky, because there are times that the person with the disability is more higher qualified than others. How do you prove that? How do you prove amongst a pool of people where we're almost about the same that you didn't hire me because of the leg?
Yeah. We got another question. It says, my employer is in the process now in making our work area more handicap accessible to include installation of an elevator in the building and work.
Very good. Very good.
That is outstanding. That is outstanding. Hey, folks, again, like I told y'all, I can go with Miss Rose all night on disability questions and handicap. Am I wrong? Am I right? Should I help? Should I not help? Like this, but I know we're going against time. But for all those who've been joining, please take time to share and comment on this broadcast and give it to those who you think who can use this information and who can reach out to Ms. Grubbs. And how can someone reach out to you if they want your services?
You can reach me at getidefy@gmail.com.
Okay. Outstanding. Is there anything that you would like to add before we close, ma'am?
Treat people like people, not for their color, their disability, their size, just whatever their abilities are. And be proactive in your own workplace. Ask why you don't have certain things, because you never know what day you may come in having played tennis, basketball, football, whatever ball, moving something on crutches or in a wheelchair or with an eye patch or with an eardrum piece and need the same services that we need. Be proactive about things. Outstanding.
Hey, folks, you heard it first. You heard it from Ms. Grubbs herself. And of course, I'm not going to push you out the window if you're on the second floor and the building's burning. I learned my lesson. She told me it's a liability, Charles. Don't push nobody out the window, so you're going to be safe. All right, don't worry about it. You ain't getting pushed out. All right. But as always,
and Mr. Neighbors, I gotta get proactive, right? Because of my disabilities, I think we need to try to figure out how we're gonna put a handicap ramp to get me from the curb up to the door.
That's true.
that is too easy because we already got one built. She's got to walk down the parking lot to get to it.
To the end of the parking lot.
I got it covered, guys. I got it covered. Hey, folks, thanks. We appreciate you all. We appreciate you coming in this evening and spending time with us. I enjoy this. Like I said, I can go all night long with you. I love your information. I love talking with you. And guys, always remember, your yesterday is not your today, and your today is not your tomorrow. Good night.